one of my first firearms training courses was under Akil Kadir.
Hmm.
He taught my first instructor course, and you know, uh, that was when he had the board. He has this board of names where
Hmm.
every time he mentions a name, he writes it on the board.
Hmm.
And Larry Mudgett was pretty close to the top. And the only other time where I heard anybody mention Larry Mudgett was on your podcast. Like you were talking about some of the stuff that you would do with trigger stuff, with trigger
Hmm.
manipulations and trigger management.
Hmm.
Um, do, how much of that do how much of that do you incorporate into your classwork? Um, and we'll talk a little bit more about
Hmm.
first person training here in a little bit. But how much of that do you mix into your coursework?
Well, you can't revamp your material every time you go to a class, like completely revamp it. And you don't want to be like an imitation of somebody else out there. It's what can you incorporate from what you learn into how you present and teach. Um, there's probably a little something of every instructor that I've taken a class from in the classes that I teach. Um, I already had the class that I call trigger management before I went and took the Larry Mudgett class. What I learned from him was a language to say what I had been trying to say for years and didn't know how to say it. And all of a sudden, he was doing this in 1985. Yeah, it's when he came up with this. And it just, it was before the internet and before everything was instantly around the world and people stealing it and everything. And I went back, and probably now the first hour or hour and a half of that class is directly my spin on a drill that Larry Mudgett developed and came up with, but with full attribution. And then that goes right into the rest of the class I developed. Um, there's a lot of
So,
Dave Spalding in what I do.
mm,
There's a lot of Tom Givens in what I do. Um, uh, there's a guy that a lot of the training world doesn't necessarily know as well as a guy named Eric Lund, who really helped me out a lot. Um, a lot of back and forth conversations, going to the range and working through things with me. Eric was a professional three gunner, but he's also a longtime law enforcement officer. He's actually approaching retirement, and so he had it from the operational side and the competitive side, and taught me a lot with that. They all have kind of shaped where I am now. A guy named Sam Conway was the first guy that actually coached me instead of saying stop jerking the trigger. Oh, so there is actually something other than just saying that. And so that it's just kind of been, I got bad instruction when I started out. I want to do better for the people that I get a chance to touch.
yeah.
And uh, to me, it all comes down to two things as far as running the gun for defensive purposes: get the gun between you and the bad guy in a usable form, press the trigger without misaligning the gun. The rest of it's just window dressing and tweaks. Yeah. Weaver or isosceles? Well, I suggest you use one.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
So we all know that you have your own firearms training company. It's a
Hmm.
first person safety.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. I know that there's trigger management, and then there's a couple other courses as well. Would you mind
Yeah,
speaking to some of your curriculum?
sure. And first person safety was my second attempt at a business name. And it's coming up with the business name is so hard that I haven't been able to come up with a good one. And so I don't like the name, but I'm kind of stuck with it at this point. Trigger management is my favorite of my classes to teach. And it is the most technical of the shooting classes that I teach. And it's all about pressing the trigger without misaligning the gun. It's teaching you to become your own best coach. And so that you diagnose why it is that you miss, and then you learn how to fix it. And so you come away from that class with a methodology where you can go to the range on your own and continue to coach yourself. and prove yourself. My second favorite class to teach is what I call pistol craft. I used to call it defensive pistol skills, but I renumbered everything here a couple of years ago. And it's my take on, it's say Givens combative pistol, Spalding combative pistol, everything. It's a 1-day class. But it's everything that I think you needed to know. It's basically the lifestyle rules of possessing a firearm in live fire format. And I love to give Hearn grief, but I will say that John Hearn's cognitive pistol, John Murphy's street encounter skills, and I'm going to be arrogant and say my pistol craft class, I think, are the 3 traveling road shows that people need to be getting to after you've trained with all the Spaldings and the Givenses and that crowd.
I got to get up with John Hearn. I want to ask him to get on here because I feel like he made an interesting point on your podcast that maybe we do too much shooting in shooting classes.
Absolutely.
I think so too.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm in 100% agreement with taking more John Murphy classes, more John Hearn classes, and just making better decisions with a gun in your hand.
I'll say this: I learned more about the technical ability to shoot the firearm and more about how to teach the technical ability to shoot the firearm in the 4-day Larry Mudgett class that I went to than everything else combined, and fired 130 live rounds in 4 days.
In 4 days?
Yeah.
In 4 days?
4 days.
Like I've gone to 4-hour classes and shot like 100. Yeah.
Wow. We didn't fire a live round until day 3.
You're blowing my mind right now. Okay.
And I learned more about me as a shooter and improved my ability as a shooter, and more importantly, my ability to teach what I know to people in that class. And 130 rounds in 4 days.
Folks, I want to give a very special thank you to Top Gun Shooting Range here in Memphis, Tennessee. This is where I teach personally. You can shoot our fully automatic machine guns in a safe and controlled environment. We also have a barbecue restaurant right here in the building. Ferguson's Barbecue has 4.7 stars on Google reviews, and also it's the only public range in the Mid-South that allows you to draw from the holster. And personally, I believe that that's the best way for you to practice for handgun self-defense. Folks, I do not shill for anybody. I promote the causes that I believe in, and I believe in Top Gun Memphis. Come by and see us.